In international trade, actions often speak louder than words. Recently, Canada quietly enforced long-standing trade rules against General Motors and Stellantis, catching many in Washington off guard. Instead of dramatic tariffs, Canada methodically applied existing regulations tied to automakers' commitments for domestic production. This precise administrative move shows that effective trade enforcement doesn't require loud declarations or trade wars. Agreements matter, and they will be enforced even years later. To understand Canada's move, we revisit the 2008-2009 financial crisis. The government invested billions to save GM and Chrysler, expecting jobs and production in return. But GM closed Oshawa and Stellantis scaled back in Brampton, breaking the spirit of those deals. As production fell, imports grew, hurting jobs and the supply chain. The message: government support comes with strings attached, and consequences follow. Rather than a public showdown, Canada turned to its regulatory toolkit. No new laws, no threats, just the enforcement of rules already in place. This rules-based approach prioritized legality and precision over political theater. By using existing regulations, Canada depoliticized the action, making it hard to label as unfair or protectionist. The consequences were clear and predictable, strengthening Canada's legal and diplomatic position. The framework was designed to balance domestic production with market access. By activating it, Canada showed it would use its powers when needed. The enforcement targeted only the companies that broke their commitments, avoiding broader trade disruptions. This surgical approach minimized collateral damage and focused the impact. Canada's method was a masterclass in regulatory precision, quiet, targeted, and effective. It sent a message upholding commitments is non-negotiable. Sometimes the best enforcement is the one that simply follows the rules. Canada's Motor Vehicles Tariff Order lets automakers import vehicles duty-free if they meet domestic production requirements. The key rule: produce at least one car in Canada for every one sold. When GM and Stellantis fell short, their duty-free quotas were cut, and imports above the limit faced full tariffs. Canada's message is clear: meet your commitments or pay the price. Canada's enforcement stands in stark contrast to the U.S. approach under the Trump administration. The U.S. favored broad public tariffs, announced with fanfare and designed to pressure trading partners. Canada's method was subtle, administrative, and relied on existing legal structures. No press conferences, no new get-tough policies, just a quiet adjustment. This avoided the diplomatic friction and market volatility of public tariff battles. The U.S. used a sledgehammer. Canada used a scalpel, targeting only the non-compliant companies. Trump-era tariffs often faced legal challenges and retaliation. Canada's move was defensible under international law. The difference is philosophical. The U.S. approach was disruptive and transactional. Canada's was procedural and rules-based. Quiet enforcement achieves policy goals with less fallout. Canada proved you don't need a trade war to protect your interests. Sometimes, diligent application of existing rules is the most effective tool. The lesson: precision beats spectacle in trade enforcement. Canada's case may inspire others to rethink their own strategies. Canada's enforcement sent shockwaves through corporate boardrooms. For years, automakers shifted production to lower-cost countries, assuming few consequences. Canada's move ties duty-free access directly to local production, forcing companies to rethink the risks of downsizing in key markets. Now, closing a plant means facing tariffs on imports, a cost that could outweigh savings from offshoring. This creates a strong incentive to keep or expand Canadian operations. The impact ripples through North America's integrated auto supply chain. Access to the Canadian market is no longer unconditional, even under USMCA. Supply chain decisions in Detroit or Mexico now have direct financial consequences at the Canadian border. Automakers may adopt a more balanced, distributed manufacturing strategy to avoid penalties. This could stabilize jobs and investment across the continent. Canada's action is a reminder. Governments still have powerful tools to shape corporate behavior. The rules of globalization are evolving. National interests can be protected without breaking international trade law. Canada's quiet enforcement offers a lesson for policymakers worldwide. It shows the power of using existing, often overlooked regulatory tools for precise trade policy. While the U.S. has focused on broad, headline-grabbing actions, Canada's targeted approach achieved results without major conflict. The key, clear, enforceable commitments built into agreements. Future deals, whether in autos, clean energy, or tech, should link benefits like subsidies to measurable commitments on jobs and production. This creates self-enforcing structures with real consequences for non-compliance. The U.S. could learn from this, reviewing existing agreements for similar enforcement opportunities. Many incentive packages already have job and investment clauses. Now they need systematic monitoring and enforcement. Canada's model aligns with a rules-based order and offers precision that broad tariffs lack. It may also encourage more collaboration across government departments, aligning industrial policy and trade enforcement. Effective governance often means using existing powers creatively, not just inventing new ones. Canada's example is a template for smarter, more integrated trade policy. The message: enforce commitments quietly but firmly. Canada's action is likely to be studied by governments worldwide. It's a model for asserting industrial sovereignty without aggressive protectionism. Many countries face the challenge of holding multinationals accountable for promises made in exchange for public support. Canada's regulatory approach is effective and defensible on the global stage. This could shift the balance between corporate power and national interests. By embedding enforceable conditions into agreements, governments can create more balanced relationships. The implications are huge as countries invest in green industries and new technologies. Canada's case is a guide: tie incentives to binding commitments or risk losing long-term benefits. This may usher in a more strategic, conditional era of globalization. Nations will demand that foreign investment delivers real, lasting value. Canada's move could be remembered as a turning point in how governments harness global capital for national goals. Canada's quiet enforcement is more than a footnote. It's a reassertion of national industrial policy. By leveraging existing rules, Canada showed that commitments tied to public support have real consequences. This move resets expectations for corporate behavior and trade enforcement. Access to a market is a privilege, not a right. Automakers must now factor regulatory risks into their production decisions. The penalty for downsizing is clear: reduced duty-free quotas and higher costs. This could lead to a more stable, distributed manufacturing footprint across North America. The Canadian model is a precedent for other sectors, from semiconductors to green tech. It proves that industrial development and corporate accountability can coexist within trade rules. The key is clear: self-enforcing frameworks that ensure public investment yields public benefit. Canada's action is a subtle but firm declaration of economic sovereignty. The message to boardrooms and governments: the rules matter, and they will be enforced.